So, yeah, anyways,
Point.
backup character session, yay.
It's so hard to
Just
play
as an
someone who
introductory.
isn't chaotic. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's very hard to play a character who's supposed to not care about anything but revenge.
The rest of the group got the chaotic part, man. They picked up on that.
I'm playing the one that non-chaotic character, but also the one that honestly just wants to eat people. So.
It's kind of chaotic in of
But,
itself.
like, you know what I mean.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
Okay, where is my phone? It's right here. This, that.
So, did y'all talk about your characters at all before this session, or is this the first time y'all are finding about your other characters?
I didn't talk to anybody about my character.
I wanted to be
Maybe
surprised,
Maria?
so
What?
I said I wanted to be surprised.
Did I tell you about my character at all, Maria?
No.
Okay.
Which is why I was surprised when you showed up and you were playing a big dude. I was like, wait a minute. You're going out in bar fights? What is this? Not a Jarther moment?
Certified not a Jarther moment.
Okay.
That is the fact.
It's kind of fun playing a barbarian that doesn't care, isn't it?
So basically the whole idea of this character was he's like a barbarian first and foremost, and he got to a point where he was starting to control his rages, and like he wasn't attacking friend and foe at the same time, and then he got contacted by a fiend, and now he has like the literal devil on his shoulder that tells him all sorts of stuff, and he's like, yeah, God, I'll do that. And it turns out that that's a very terrible decision to make because reasons. So now his rage makes him not ascertain friend from foe, and basically he can get pushed into it very easily.
Yeah.
But I'm going to, like, if you guys want to do this, like, it'll be easier for you guys to restrain him if he's raging in the future. But I felt like it was just really funny to have, like, as the intro, him just being, like, the way he was.
Yeah.
Also, John, your camera is not working.
It's working on my end.
It's not working on my end.
Yeah. So that's you problem.
It's not the end
But
of the world.
also, like, for the fact that y'all didn't communicate at all, I feel like this party composition is actually pretty dang good for a party of 4. Because you got a cleric, a ranger, a barbarian warlock, and a fighter druid. Like, that's fairly spread out.
Cool,
like, you have your range, you have your tanks, you have your support. Like, you got all the box checked.
So my I want to ask what was your idea for your character, John?
The characters literally. Sorry, my voice is not great right now.
I get that.
Pretty much all of the characters I've played up until now have been like smart, clever.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta think about everything, strategic kind of guys. And while I enjoy those characters, I decided to use this as a chance to get to play a guy who just like, you know, this is the thing I think is supposed to happen. So
You're a lot chiller.
Yeah.
Are you a good character, or like is it chaotic good, lawful good? What's your alignment? Actually, what's everybody's alignment?
I believe my alignment would be lawful good.
My alignment is all of them.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Chris, what's your alignment?
Yeah, I'm pretty good to
I
consider
put
me
chaotic
lawful
good. Even though
At
Malcolm
least
and
for
Captain
now.
Elf wasn't good.
So I have my character as lawful neutral, but the law that he follows is whatever the devil on his shoulder tells him to do.
God told me
So,
to
like,
do it.
Exactly.
Also,
So that was the idea.
I feel bad that I don't give inspiration out to you guys much, but every time I do give it, just nobody uses it.
Yeah, everything I was doing,
I forgot
I
about
had
mine.
advantage.
Yeah,
like
that's
when
true.
I needed it already. me, so and like you didn't hit me with anything that I needed to save or anything like that.
Yeah.
I did like the combat on a boat. That's really fun, and like the fact that you had the little boat model there. That's so cool.
Yeah.
You've been waiting on that for a while.
I've been waiting on that, man. I like the little boat.
So Chris, did you say what your alignment was?
I put him down as chaotic good, but I don't plan on going super crazy like I did with Kano. So it's probably gonna stay.
He's opportunistic, basically.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Like,
My
you know,
character has a
we
strong moral code, which would be considered good, but he follows to the T, therefore lawful good.
That
like
makes
if we
sense,
run
yeah.
into any merchants, I'm not gonna put an arrow in their eye just because.
That's crazy. Who would do that?
I wonder. Definitely my character. He definitely would, especially if they do something that can like get him to be raging, because then he'll just.
How do you guys like actually having motives starting out as characters? Because I feel like the last time it was more of just, or at least the start of Lotus Row was more like, oh, I don't know how to get you guys in this, so boom, here's the exact thing you need to do, you know? Like, did you like that slow introduction more, or was it more like boring because it was very much parsed out individually? Because, I mean, there was a lot of dead time this session, you know?
Well, I mean, I wasn't here for the first half hour ish.
Yeah.
So.
I don't have a problem with dead time when I'm not there in person.
Yeah.
Because half the time I only hear half of what's going on anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It is what it is what I'm saying.
I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, after a while, if I'm not involved, I kind of space out. That's why I was making minis. We're trying to, but you know, pick up here and there. I don't feel like I missed too much.
Sure. And I mean, that's kind of like, it's never my necessarily goal to parse out, with the exception of this session. I mean, it was my goal just because I guess I wanted to start telling the individual stories before I started telling the group story. And that just takes longer, you know?
I actually like the little separate stories, though.
Yeah.
Session.
Yep, you gotta come up with a name for it, Mr. Name Guy.
The ship's arrived.
And the shit's arrived.
I mean, we did hit a beach. I'm assuming we're close.
Yeah, I mean, you go out on the continent for sure.
We're somewhere.
Oh boy. So I decided to use my old headset for this episode.
Yeah.
Because you may have noticed it looks a little off.
Nice.
It sounded good, though.
Yeah, it's the mic's a little bit louder picking me up than the new one, which is kind of frustrating, but
just wear
I
both.
like the new one a lot better. So
yeah,
I just have to deal with this ear being held on by tape and hope.
Yeah, I did that for a while with my headset.
Like, yeah, it's
a year.
The sacrifice I am willing to make for clarity's purposes.
Yep.
But on the subject of individual like character stories, I kind of feel like Maria's is really interesting.
Yeah.
Like the whole revenge line. I didn't actually get to hear Chris's because I had to show up late because of church. But you know, that was, from what little I heard, you know, like the man seeking revenge kind of a storyline is cool.
Yeah.
So
and
basically,
then you just have,
he went out on a hunt to get food for the village, and then when he got back, somebody ransacked it or whatever, killed everybody there.
Not just the men, but the women and the children too.
That's
Dang
right.
it, are you hunting Anakin Skywalker?
No, actually, I came up with a couple of ideas, and I just handed it to Eric and say, "Surprise me." And so my original idea was completely different. Well, not completely different. It was a little different than this one, because the other one was not going to be
I feel like
the what it Croatoan where they came back and there was nobody there, but there was a note with some random word on it.
I want you to know I had the whole thing in the riddle plan prior to when you told me that. And when you told me that, I'm like, yes, I'm already doing this.
You're welcome.
uh, is John you're like after your sister as far as I could tell? Or cousin
So-
or relative?
So, the backstory of my character, which, funny enough, I actually didn't get the whole thing sent to Eric because it's on my laptop and I currently don't have access to my laptop.
I worked with what I had.
Anyways, but no, the character, he's like Goliath. He got kicked out from his clan when he was pretty young because he didn't like hurting people, and he's not mad about he isn't vengeful about being kicked out from his clan because he didn't want that life. So the fact that he was kicked out doesn't disturb him at all. So that's not a problem for him. But after he was kicked out, he stumbled on this little farm and met this little girl. She was like 4, named Petunia, who then led him to her father, who is the owner of the farm. And the father kind of took him in, and he grew up there on the farm. And the girl, she was a little, the comparison that I made for Eric, I don't know if you read that text, Eric, but it was basically, Teddy follows her with all the loyalty and confidence of a big old dog following his master. And so he was just her. Basically, he would do whatever she wanted him to do because he almost worshipped her. But then one day, when he was out working in the fields of the farm, when he came back, bandits had had invaded the place, and the farmer he found the farmer's body. The farmer was dead, but he could not find the girl, so he assumed whoever had done this must have taken her, and he set out in search of her to find her.
Interesting. So how did he end? Okay, I'm just.
And his motivation is not, I want to hurt whoever's got her. It's simply, I want to find her again.
Okay. So he ended up joining the guard because basically he thought they had a lead. Is that what?
Well, that wasn't part of my plan. That was something Eric did.
I didn't have anything else to work with in terms of plot hook. So if I had known that, I would have worked it in. But when I don't have it,
With this being opening weekend, I'm not exaggerating when I said we literally didn't have 30 minutes of spare time.
Yeah. So I took the loose idea from everybody and then just tried to fill it in to make it somewhat close in the amount of time it would take to do the solo part, or at least what I thought would take close to the same amount. But obviously, some people gave a lot of detail, some people gave not as much, some people were in the middle.
Yeah. What if he joined up to make a little bit of money and to try to become an apothecary kind of guy, but obviously turned out the Red Guard wasn't interested in healing people.
I'm just going to chalk it up to an incredibly aggressive recruiter.
I mean, Teddy is kind of naive.
We all know
so...
somebody who's gotten conned by a Anyway, or I assume we all know somebody's gotten conned by a recruiter. Could be wrong.
And the Air Force copyright strikes this video. What? I said the Air Force copyright strikes the video.
No, I was thinking more like the Navy, but anyway. So I feel like it's interesting. I kind of picked my character, and it feels like everybody else has like way worse trauma. Again, like Jarthur had like the least amount of trauma in our earlier party.
Yeah.
And now again, my character has the least amount.
The least traumatic guy. Yeah. It's true.
Because basically he's an orphan that was raised at a monastery or whatever, convent, whatever you want to call it. He doesn't know what it was called.
Yeah.
Because he's dumb.
Bro, maybe Teddy did have more trauma, but he doesn't see it that way. He's like, oh, she's gone. I gotta go find her.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of interesting. I did think that you were like, for the intro points, you were kind of telling us how we got there instead of letting us tell how we got there. But like,
Yes.
I get that like that worked for the world that you were creating, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and most of the story I was telling was already given to me by the players in the cases where I did not have the story, in which case I had to create it. So, like, for example,
like you
Chris...
got everything pretty much right from my story, which was like he's getting in fights and getting kicked out of town and like, you know, stuff like that.
Correct. Like, Chris's story is almost word for word verbatim what he gave me, just with more detail. Like, I didn't really make up much for him except a couple of the details, you know. Same with...
I don't know. I don't know how good it would have been to have, like, each player tell their backstory as they were coming into it instead of having a DM do it. Like, I don't know.
Well,
that's something I gotta...
Well, that's more almost like you'd be sitting around telling stories.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you the reason
it's like
why...
How much detail do you want to go into it? How, like...
Yeah, and I'll tell you the reason why I
about,
didn't do that is for a couple reasons. First off, as a DM, I have always shied away from taking away player agency, but I also realized there are a lot of really good DMs who can... It's not so much that they control their players, but they tell them how they feel. Which I think is very different than telling a player what they're doing. You know? So, like, how you feel based off what the experiences you guys told me, you know, I feel a lot more comfortable being like, okay, based off what you told me, you're going to feel this way. Like Teddy, when he sees the bloody cloak, he's going to think something different than when Gregory saw the bloody cloak, right? Because of how you guys told me you were going to play the characters. And also, in the past, when I've tried to do, like, where you guys can tell more of your backstory, it tends to be harder. More time-consuming. Well, it's not necessarily that as much as it is when you're in character, you don't bring as much details to light as a narration can. When narrating something, you can be a lot more descriptive and tell a lot more of the story than you can talking in first person about past experiences. And also, like, for example, in the last time that I really tried to do that was with the bard guy that sang the song. And, like, I got very little out of you guys. Like, that was my attempt to get you guys to bring up more of, like, your history and sort of thing. Kano's not going to tell a stranger about his history. It's not going to happen. Like, and that's not that
Yeah.
Chris is not going to tell him. It's that Kano's not going to tell a stranger details about his past. So that's one of the reasons it's like, you know what? I'm going to take this upon myself, and I'm going to do more of the explaining. We're going to pick up in the middle of these stories, but I'm going to kind of like narrate a little bit more. That way, everybody else actually knows what's going on more so, and the viewers know more so that's what's going on than, just a guy at a campfire who doesn't want to tell a stranger about what he did in his previous life.
That makes sense.
And it's not going to be like a normal thing where...
That song was one of the best, the high points.
I like that. Fair. So it's not like my intentional goal in the future to do a lot more of that. I may lean more into like how it makes you feel based off what I know of your characters, but like it's not going to be to the extent that this was, because this was an introductory session, and I needed to introduce... Well, it's not necessarily that I need to introduce you guys. You guys needed to be introduced equally, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That does make sense.
Well, like I know you missed it.
Like, personality-wise... I'm sorry. Chris, you say...
No, go ahead.
Well, I was literally just going to say that personality-wise, like, I feel like I'm going to, if I get given an inch, I'm going to take a mile and just kind of dominate the conversation or the, maybe not the conversation, but the storytelling, because I have a lot of cool ideas. I like talking about them, and that might, like, not all of our characters are like front-facing characters. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know how to describe it, but every party kind of has like the front character, and I feel like if we were a party in real life, I would probably be like taking that position. Either that or Maria, both kind of I don't want to say flamboyant, but a little bit assertive, maybe, would be a
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt with Zorro, honestly. I was very often taking the lead, which was fun, but also was like, sometimes I felt bad because I felt like sometimes things would revolve around me too much, and I don't want to...
Well, I will just say, I played, out of all of you guys, I played the most D&D with everybody in this group versus compared to how much y'all have played with each other. And every single one of you can and does play that assertive front face of the party. They just don't always do it in the same campaign. So it's not necessarily that the person is more assertive, although, I mean, that's true to an extent. But, like, there's a lot of cases where I've seen each one of you guys specifically take the reins in other campaigns that are completely different than the characters you're playing in these campaigns, if that makes sense.
But what I'm saying, though, is, like, it's very easy for, like, the character and the person, especially if both of them are charismatic, kind of, like, the character's charismatic and the person is charismatic. I don't know if that's the right word, but... it can end up to being like they end up hogging the spotlight, especially in an introductory standard.
Which is one reason why.
Do you still remember what you were going to say, Chris?
Yeah. So going back to what Eric was saying about the narrating, I know you missed it, but he was talking about, Caspian coming back with pelts on his back, meat, happy that he was going to feed the whole village, seeing the fire that they were building up, expecting him to do good, and then he walks in and he sees a bunch of bodies piled up burning. That's better than if I was to say, I was out hunting, I came back and the bodies of my village were on fire in the middle of the thing. You lose a lot of it, and I think that's where the narration actually helped.
Well, I mean,
as far as the introductory,
the backstory, and then there's another way of like having your character play through it. Like those are a little different. I feel like because like my character was definitely that was like more narration for me because I just kind of walked into town, whereas I feel like you were playing through.
Okay,
your
yeah, I'll tell you
backstory.
why he gave me more to work with than you did. You gave me more information on how your character was going to act, whereas he
Yeah.
gave me more information on where his character came from. The hindsight, he also told me less of how his character
Yeah.
was going to act, and I didn't even know his class until 5 minutes before we started. So you guys gave me different information that I worked with differently. And for him, he gave me a lot more details on the backstory of where he wanted to come from. And that's why I was able to walk through with him. For you, you're just like, yeah, he does this, he acts this way. You know, it wasn't, oh, this is my exact backstory happened, this.
Oh yeah, no.
And it wasn't
And to be
necessarily
fair,
that I
like,
made
if
up
we
his.
had-
Like I said, for his, I didn't make hardly any of that up. Like, he told me most of it. I just embellished it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I had a backstory
I'm sure
way
I'll enjoy
before I had a
watching it,
character
as I
idea.
edit it.
yeah. What's that?
I'm sure I'll enjoy watching it as I
Yeah.
edit it.
Yep.
But yeah, if it makes you feel any,
So.
if it makes you feel any better, David, it was 3 minutes before we started, and I closed my eyes and deleted them, so I knew which one I would play. I picked the one I didn't delete. So
That's rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool having like multiple different characters that you can just kind of slip in and out of. I think it's good practice too, because like I was constantly trying to like nail the voice for Gregory too. Like, you saw that like dumb little gag I did with like the too much pig.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny, and
Yeah.
like I feel like Gregory's dumb but not stupid,
Yeah.
so it's a fun idea for a character. Whereas I really do like the dynamic of the two big guys, like the just like unhinged kind of like hearing voices guy versus the just gentle giant. And
Yeah,
the fact
we're
that
not
like,
as opposite as two big, strong guys can be.
and yet the way we met was
Instant bonding.
You saw he was a bad guy. What do you want?
it's actually funny. They got two bad guys. We got like two nature based.
Yeah.
What's funny is
We got the big boys and the nature people.
my deity is it's Gaia. It's spirit of nature. So
I am the odd one out here in this.
You're the non-nature guy. Oof.
Maybe I should have gone like
again, we didn't plan
talk
it.
about this at all. Yeah.
You know, 3 of us ended up all being nature people.
It's funny because like I was actually thinking about like doing my warlock subclass, and instead of doing the fiend, I was thinking about doing the what was it, the great old one, or isn't there one where it's like tree nature or whatever? That might be not.
I don't think so.
Anyway,
I haven't done.
I was thinking
Warlock
about
much.
doing it, but I decided not to.
I was actually going with one of the new races, and I was going to do the Robin Hood fox from Disney. And I had it made out. I used it in my nephew's.
Copyright.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do it.
Disney's not
Yeah.
exactly the company you want to cross.
Well, you know, you can't get blood from a turnip.
I don't like just challenging them for sure.
See, Robin Hood is in
Yeah.
the public domain, but a fox as Robin Hood is very much Disney.
Yeah. The minis you keep making, Chris, are really cool looking.
I think
Got
that could be like your side job. Is just be like, yo, describe your character
Describe
to
your
me.
character.
I got you.
I think it's pretty cool. I've already got Maria's done.
Yeah.
that's a really good mini. Like honestly,
Did I post the one of Maria's character?
no, not yet.
Yeah.
I'll have to
I'll put it
you
on.
the,
I'll put it on Discord so you can see it. Then I'll make yours and John's whenever y'all can get me the descriptions. I'll do the best I can.
Mine's not exactly super complicated. He's just a really big dragonborn with a just absolutely massive horns, and he's like thick.
Yeah, just get me your color, and then I can go from there. And
Your color.
So, also, we didn't actually get to do this, but I wanted to do a ton of things with my character for flavor. What are your thoughts on having his eldritch blasts shaped like his fists?
Sure.
I mean, I figured it would just be flavor, but
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm just picturing this guy go like this, and like that's how he casts Eldritch Blast. He just punches, and like you just see like a fist rocket out of his.
Yeah. Any
That
changes
picture
you want to
was
make
just
for
too funny.
flavor? Absolutely, go for it. It's just I need to approve like anything that gives you a mechanical advantage. Like if you wanted to change it to like bludgeoning damage instead of force damage, but you know if it's just a fist, go for it.
Well, I mean, force is better anyway, so
It is better.
I mean, in most cases.
Yeah. There are very few cases where it wouldn't be better.
The only thing would be like maybe having it be the option to cast it while raging, but like I decided not to ask for that because that's definitely breaking the rules as written and just getting around stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's so many advantages to being raged that like I feel like it
Having some
for my
downsides isn't a
character
bad thing.
balanced,
Yeah.
it needed some downsides. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with the way it worked out.
Yep.
Although it's definitely going to be a couple levels before it really becomes the powerhouse that I wanted it to be.
Yep.
But I also basically I figured out that the item you gave me gives me 6 hit points.
Yes.
And then temporary hit points, like over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have the Dark One's Blessing, so when I kill somebody, I get 6 temporary hit points.
Correct. And those do not stack.
No, they do not. You can only have it from one or the other, but basically if I take damage, I lose the 6, and then I kill somebody, I get
You
back
get the back
6.
6. Yeah.
So it's like it replaces itself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and with
Yeah,
if I'm raging, it's
That's what the tank
worth
needs.
12,
More
basically.
hit points.
Yeah, I don't know if it matters to you guys at all, but my magic item is just when I cast healing spells through my amulet, it does an extra 1d4 healing.
Which is cool. That's a really useful thing. Chris, did you have anything cool as far as magic items?
I just took bracers of archery. I just went something simple.
What is that? +2
Plus
or 1?
It's a +2 to hit.
Gives you proficiency, which he already has. I think that's it.
Yeah, it was just, I think, just a
Yeah.
+2.
Yeah, mainly the +2.
I mean, that's very helpful at range, and you'll be our range support. Which honestly, like having characters with bows, not always helpful, but when they're helpful, they're really helpful.
Yeah, and also I think with this particular party composition, it's fine because like Gregory's going to be on the front lines most of the time.
Pretty much, yeah.
Teddy can live on the front lines if needed, or in the back lines. Doesn't matter. Maria.
Eddie can
Really?
live on the front lines, but he can't do much damage.
Correct. There's
Maria's
no.
more of
You
a-
can live on the front lines,
range.
but there's no advantage to you being there. Maria can realistically do both front or ranged, with probably leaning more towards ranged, but she's still or more towards melee, but she's still viable at ranged. And then you have your all-time ranged.
And I still can do some melee if I have to, so...
Like I think this party composition is a lot better than the other Lotus Elf characters in terms of synergy with each other. Granted, that being said, with these being backup characters, you may never ever play with all 4 of you together again at the same table. But
it might be mix and match,
correct, you know.
which will
Yeah,
be
because
interesting.
if Kano goes down and I have to go to Caspian,
Oh yeah, that's
there's
gonna
no
be rough.
tanks. Yeah.
That's gonna be a rough party comp. But
Yeah, what will be funny though is
when
if
Johnson
Zoro
goes down, and then
dies,
you got another barbarian in there.
and then if Zoro dies, and then my backup character somehow finds his ring, which has his soul inside it after he dies. that can lead to some funny moments because they're very, very different characters.
That is truly funny, and that's like the
And
best.
so I guess
I like
bye.
that. I feel like if my character and like Gregory and Jarthur ever meet, it's going to be like a case of, is Jarthur truly the barbarian or does it only work with Kano? That's very funny though.
yep.
But yeah, I don't know.
Eventually, I think Gregory would could take Kano.
You think?
Well, Warlock, you got Hex, extra damage.
Yeah, you also lose out a lot of HP through the levels with
That's
Warlock.
true too.
No, I don't think you could really. The only thing that would help is
Also
because
extra
I
attack.
use the Maul, which is a favored weapon. It does magical damage. So
That's
that
more
would
useful than the
bypass
Hex,
the rage
honestly.
protection.
You know what? Y'all should 1v1
Okay.
at level 5. I would be interested to see who actually
Just
win
so you know, I'll win.
At level 5?
Just because I have spells and I have Devil's Sight.
Maybe.
So what I was hoping would happen with this whole situation was that it would all happen below decks, and I would just cast darkness, and I'd be like, I'm not trapped in here with you.
Yeah, you're trapped here with me.
Here with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But then I don't get to show off my cool ship mini, okay?
he forget. He doesn't know.
yeah,
I played with Alex enough. I can negate
Yeah.
darkness easy.
My phone died again.
Rip.
That's unfortunate.
It's because I keep taking it off the charger.
Yeah, I mean, like, not to be the doctor that says don't do that, but, you know. Oh, that hurts? Don't do that! Also, I loved the aggressively French NPC
Yeah.
that you came up with, just eating baguettes.
Yeah, that's my first real attempt at an accent in D&D, so, yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
So, and like, did you have like a what's it quick snappy line for like about the fish and stuff?
Yeah, what about it?
You had like that.
Oh, yeah.
Down and you were
Correct.
repeating it.
Yeah, I chose a line that brought out all the different enunciations that you can do in French, yes. Specifically.
That's great. I loved that.
So,
it was beautiful.
So what actually made me decide to do this was, I was doing a lot of the prep for this up in Canada. And there were several French Canadians up in Canada. And I'm like, I could do that. That's fine. I'll just drop the Canadian aspect and just go straight French, because like the French Canadian is a little bit different on a lot of the vowel pronunciations. You get like that out and about, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to hold that and the French accent. Like, that's two different things in my head. So I'm like, I'm going to just go straight French. So I was in like a downtown hotel in Vancouver on like the 13th floor overlooking like one of the bigger, busier streets. I'm like, this is a good place to learn how to do French accents. So I just started watching YouTube videos. And then, like, whenever I was, like, the next day, when we were in the car, we were on, like, a 2-hour car ride with our driver was French-Canadian. And whenever he was talking, I'm like, okay, so he pronounced it that way. That's interesting. So.
Just, like, taking notes for your Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, like him and my dad were just talking. I'm like, oh, so that's how he says that word. That's interesting. It's funny. But,
It came out really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was like great enough to be like a running gag. Just have random characters be
Yeah.
French.
Yeah.
Just
Also, like,
aggressively.
he wasn't talking that much. It wasn't like an NPC that was going to be there for like 4 hours. So
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, I'm going to give you guys like
No, he
4
wasn't.
minutes, and that's good. So, because the only other accent I've ever really tried is more like a more deeper Georgian accent, which with my already Southern accent
The
is
country
not
Georgia
yeah,
or
with
the state Georgia.
the country
The
Georgia.
aggressive Southern accent,
Yeah.
basically.
But you know, like that was also a very short instance with what's her name. So it's like, you know,
Yeah, I can't hold accents. They just always like
yeah,
waver.
I struggle.
The
with
only
that.
one I'm probably decent at is like the "Hello, you have reached tech support.
Yeah.
I am David. I will take your call." That's only because I keep getting called by Indian guys. But you know, that's neither here nor there.
If you hear
We'll
it,
talk
you
about
know,
that
it's easier to do. So I might experiment with other accents in the future. It's,
I've got my goblin voice. That's
Yeah.
about it.
at some point, I'm gonna do
Well, I've got to go eat some supper at this point.
Peace, brother.
You have a nice one then, John.
See ya.
I will see you guys in 2 months.
Okay.
Have fun.
Scheduling.
Alright. See ya.
See ya.
At some point, I'm gonna do an accent for one of my PCs, but I just feel like I'm not ready for that yet.
I mean, I enjoyed it when we did that one shot, and you just had the person who was deaf.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a lot funner than I expected it to be.
Like having that as like a character,
Yeah,
or even just like a side character, it just
Yeah.
is incredibly fun.
yeah.
Especially like if you can, you know, like communicate with somebody else on the table, you know, like text them and then, you know, do some sign language. Or like, I mean, even if you actually learn a little bit for it.
No, I think it's even better if someone at the table is like your main communicator and you try to do very bad sign language to them, and whatever they communicate is just what it is. You know? If they want to say you threaten this guy, like, you can't hear. You don't know if that's what they said.
They turn their back to you, so you can't read lips.
Yeah,
You're
you
like,
can't read lips.
you're doing
Like,
this.
He said your mother is fat.
He wants to know where you put the candy.
Uh,
Like, I'm gonna kill him. He's like,
Yeah.
do you have candy?
All right. Well, I think I'm gonna call it at that.
Yeah.
I'm tired. Had a long weekend.
Yeah,
So.
go ahead and hit the recording, I guess.
Yep.
Well, that's all, folks.